Welcome back, YouTubers. Now, I know last time I said that might have been my final video for a little while, but since this is so closely related, I decided to make a separate video for this. There is a petition right now on change.org to have Netflix pick up Legend of Korra, produce it, stream it on their service. And if you're a fan of the series and you wish to sign it, I am providing the link below in the description. Check it out, sign it. I've already had one person, because I posted this link in a forum elsewhere, got confused and thought you had to actually pay money to sign the petition. You don't have to pay money to sign a petition on change.org. There is a promotion section on change.org in which you can give money to the, I guess you would call it, campaign. Basically, they'll put advertisements and links in other websites by doing that. That is an option. But you don't have to sign the petition. You don't have to sign it, you don't have to provide any cash or money. You would of course, will have to provide, names and stuff, because that's kind of how a petition works. But it's not the change.org is set up to be a petition like anything else. They expect you to actually reveal information, because that's how it's verified that these are actual people signing the petition. I know the internet likes to preserve its anonymity, but it comes with the territory. I have a background in political science, so I'm fine with that stuff. The petition itself is to get the signatures and send a letter to the CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, as well as their Chief Content Officer, Ted Sarandos, asking them to enter negotiations with Nickelodeon to pick up the rights and then to stream it on their service. And I think this is a pretty good option. In my previous video, I said that I really wish they would continue this series. It really feels like they could and they should continue on, and that's a great way for your series to end. But I really want it to continue. You, of course, and I address this, it appears Mike and Brian, the creators of Avatar, as well as Legend of Korra, probably are moving on to something else, but you know what? They've had such a similar crew of people, writers, directors, animators, work on the series up to this point, that if they don't want to handle it as much, they'll be the executive, almost like how it was with the movie, they'll be the executive producers, they'll write like a couple page outline. You can hand it off to one of those writers and directors. Those are the same people that wrote most of the episodes, that help hammer out the storyline. Give one of them promote to what in the UK they call the showrunner, the person that actually is kind of keeping track of all the episodes, maintaining the writing through the episodes, getting the overall plots and stuff down. There's no reason they can't go to one of the people that have, I think there's like 2 or 3 of them that have actually like directed and scripted about a third of all the Avatar episodes. If not a third, like almost like there's like 3 people that have done almost half of both series. You can handle one of those guys. They know how it is. They know the characters. They're not going to mess it up. In fact, they might be responsible for some of the more memorable stuff. I don't know all the background details. But just because they're not willing doesn't mean the series can't progress. Now, at the moment, this petition that I'm recording this might change by the time it gets posted up online, but it's got 10,292 supporters, i.e. people who have signed the petition. They're asking for 4,708 more. When I first got linked to this, which is actually a week or two, sorry it took me a little while to record this, I've been kind of busy. They want about 4,700 more signatures. When I first signed up on this, I think it only had 4,000 signatures, so it's growing. And that's why I had this, to encourage more people to sign up. And I'm realistic here. I'm not thinking that, once they have these 15,000 signatures, the Netflix CEOs will cave to the pressure. It's not really what this is. This is really to kind of get the ideal in individual's head. In fact, they really should be sending this also to the Nickelodeon people as well, to kind of get the ideal in their heads. So maybe, hopefully, if somebody thought about it, they go, oh, and there's some support for this. Or to maybe get... Netflix seems to be looking for series, first of all, and I don't think they have a very strong... I don't have a Netflix account. I don't know why. We used to have one through my brother. He moved out, and this everyone's kind of... Nobody wants to be the one person to actually have to pay for the full subscription right now. And actually, some of us were expecting to have like a subscription for Christmas, so no one... I don't know. But, so I don't know the full layout of all the Netflix series. I mean, I've heard Marco Polo is good. But, I don't think they have an animated series. So this, I think, would be a perfect fit. Now, in doing some research, there might be some stumbling blocks to this particular setup that they want with Netflix that I will acknowledge. As some of you probably know, some of you probably don't know, Nickelodeon is not its own thing. It's not its own company that, it exists for itself and it doesn't report to anyone. You might have heard it said that really in media there's about 5 companies that really control most of media. They're parent companies and they have all these little subsidiaries. And Nickelodeon is a subsidiary to one of those. In particular, Nickelodeon is owned by Viacom. Now, just so you're aware, Viacom, if you want to know, owns Paramount Pictures. And its television, not only does it own Nickelodeon and all its related channels, Nicktoons, all that stuff, TV Land, it is also the owner of Comedy Central, MTV and all of its spin-off channels, Spike TV, VH1, BET, CMT, and Logo. And you kind of see there, I think this has been part of the problem with finding a spot for Korra as they matured. Avatar probably pushed the boundaries as far as Nickelodeon was very comfortable with. Korra, it doesn't know how to handle. And as you can see by that list, it doesn't have a very good channel to hand that series off to. In many ways, I'd say, people try to say that Avatar, the original series, Last Airbender, was the first American anime. And I know that brings up a huge debate, what's anime, what's not anime, all that fun stuff. But, when you use the word like that, you're using a foreign word to describe something that we also have a domestic word, cartoons, animation, for. And there's normally a reason for that, and that's because, really, when you get down to it, the term anime came into use by fans of that genre to distinguish non-comedic adult cartoons. That's why that term came into existence, because people had to try to distinguish it, because if you said animation or whatever, they immediately thought like Disney children's cartoons. Last Airbender, though, is still quite clearly aimed at children. However, Korra, although it's being ham-fisted in there, really doesn't want to. It wants to be an adult series. I don't know what the breakdown is. I highly suspect that there was actually probably more adults watching than children for Legend of Korra. I could be wrong. But it's a weird thing, and Nickelodeon didn't know how to do it. You could tell that their executives over there are they know their thing, but they're really uncomfortable with being outside their safe zone of children marketing. It's a specialized market. I'm getting into a little bit of business terms here, but it's a specialized market. They know their players there. They know how to advertise to that base. And they just didn't... you get the sense that was the biggest issue. They just didn't know what to do with this show. They had a they had a market. They had the market that you want, the 18 to 39-year-olds. They were getting that, but they didn't know what to do with it. On some of the other networks, or some of the other companies like Disney, if it wasn't fitting with Disney, Disney could move it. Disney has a much wider range in channels they can move their stuff to. You know, they could possibly move from the Disney. Disney also owns ABC, the network station. They could maybe move Korra to ABC and put that on a night. Turner, which is another one of the biggies, they own, I think they do have a kids network, but then they also own Cartoon Network, and Cartoon Network, it showed more serious anime in the past, so there was no reason it couldn't move it to there. Here, if you remember that list I gave you before, there's not a very clear spot. Apparently Nick's been trying to do something with the teen Nick thing, but it hasn't really worked out. It's still too much shackled by Nickelodeon execs who are still too tied into the 4 to 12 demographic that really prevents that from being your 12 to 18-year-olds. So it's not a quite fit. And then when you look at it, where else is Spike TV is I don't see it being a good fit there. Just not the type of audience to what Spike has turned into. Too many episodes of Bar Rescue on that channel. MTV, I haven't seen MTV in years, but if it was going in the direction that it was when I stopped watching it, it's probably not the best fit. Although they had Aeon Flux back in the day, but it's again too much reality. I think that's the problem with both of those channels. Too much reality TV, not a good place to put it, I don't think. Comedy Central would probably be your best bet, but even then, it's not a comedy series. There are plenty of adult cartoons out there. I think that's probably the issue here is there's plenty of adult cartoons. That's been accepted now. I think South Park was really the first one to get that established and break kind of the mold. But when it broke it, the only things that broke through were adult comedies. You could do adult comedies as an animation now, and people don't kind of question it. Nobody brings it up. It's just kind of a... Simpsons prepped it. South Park broke and established it, and then you were able to have Family Guy, American Dad, and then more recently Archer and such. There's plenty of humor in Korra, but it's mainly an action-adventure series. It's a weirder sell. It's very groundbreaking-ish. You could argue that perhaps for Western animation, Aeon Flux was first, whatever. But you can kind of see there, not a great fit, needs a streaming service probably. I think that's what Nickelodeon was probably thinking when they put it online, but again, you have to go to Nick's website. Not a good place for it to grow. Now, the reason I looked up with the Viacom stuff is Viacom did have a contract or association with Netflix. That recently fell through, or not fell through, but they recently ended that in order to go with Amazon. So perhaps it might have been wiser to actually have this sent to Amazon for Amazon to pick this up as part of their streaming service. Just because the two companies already are closely working with one another. This is why you can find Legend of Korra stuff on Amazon. The episodes, like the streaming episodes, as well as, of course, the DVDs and Blu-rays. Which, by the way, they released the cover art for the Blu-ray. Weird little tidbit I just threw out there. Not weird, but... Anyway. They used to have it. You used to be able to get a lot of Nick's stuff, as well as MTV stuff, Comedy Central stuff, all on Netflix. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that the plan that they want to do, that this petition wants to do, will not happen. There's a good example I have. I watched the show Helix. Helix, production-wise, is actually done by Sony. Sony has its own channels. They own their own channels. Yet it's on Sci-Fi, which is a NBC Universal. It's owned by NBC Universal. See, there's no reason you can't, just because it deals, if you're talking about production and all that stuff, you can still have these kind of weird relationships specific to a show. In this case, we're probably, if this were to go through, the type of setup you're looking for is Nick going, well, we don't have any real plans to continue with Korra. Maybe they have plans with another Avatar series in the future. We don't have plans with Korra. Can we negotiate with Netflix? If Netflix is willing to pay for the series and we get a slice of the profits, it's extra money for us. And Netflix takes all the risk. Yeah. You could call it the sequel series, Korra, the Legend Continues. Actually, not only is that good as a joke, but it's actually, that kind of fits. Yeah, do another 3-season arc. The advantage, I mean, they set it up very good with the, as much as I like solid series where it's one overarching plot, there's a lot of crossover on this, but at least with Korra, the ideal that they did with, each season will have its own villain, its own separate and distinct villain. They have a little bit of crossover, and I don't mind a little bit of bleed over. Season 3 and 2, they kind of connected that Unalaq was previously a Red Lotus. Honestly, it would have made more sense if they said Amon had previously been a Red Lotus. I'm just throwing that out there. But there's, as I said, just because it appears that Viacom and Netflix don't have any current ongoing deals doesn't mean they won't negotiate production stuff. You'll see that all over the entertainment world, the television world, where different series are picked up and handled by different things. Nickelodeon, if they do some sort of deal, they might maintain some sort of rebroadcast rights. But I think streaming's really the way to go with this. I think that's where you're going to see it can expand, it can grow very easily. You can get more people to watch. I think a lot of, especially adults, if they don't have kids, are kind of hesitant to watch, tune on to the Nickelodeon thing, or browse through it, or really not even just intimidate, like, oh, I don't want people to think I'm watching Nickelodeon. More like they won't even go through the Nick's selection when it was on there. You're not likely to browse through that unless you're maybe a SpongeBob fan. You want to see some SpongeBob SquarePants. They're not likely to get rid of the rights, though. Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead there. With that, correcting myself here. I'll push off the rights for just a second. Back to the browsing. Browsing-wise, you're not likely to see people as much go on and check out the Nickelodeon stuff. Or it'll be specifically put into kids section. You're probably not as likely to browse through that. If it's on Netflix and they go, we're not going to aim this as adults, we're not going to aim this at children as much, we're going to aim it as for adults, they're going to move the section where it'll be browsed, and it's going to be more likely to watch by people. Kids will still probably find it. They'll probably actually do it to both. You'll probably still find it in the kids section. And you can kind of see right there, it's going to have a much larger browser base. If they're sticking to the shorter season format, it makes it really easy to binge watch. You can get through that sucker in one weekend. And sometimes one day. Really, there's nothing stopping you from watching the entire... I think I got through season... Yeah, I got through like 4th season in one day. Just because it was a crappy day out. I'm like, I hadn't caught up on it. I hadn't been watching it on... Let me try it out on the website. Because I was going to wait for the DVD release. And it took a couple hours, but stormy day, cold in the middle in late December. I wasn't doing much on that on Sunday, so All right. I also mentioned the right thing. This because some people might think this would be, oh, Nickelodeon giving up the rights. Nickelodeon's not going to do that. Avatar has been extremely profitable. Giving up the rights would also mean giving up all the old series. They would probably, if they go with a new series or a continuation series, obviously Netflix would have some rights to the stuff they're producing, but overall, Avatar universe would remain with Nickelodeon, and Nick would probably have final say in anything that Netflix produces or does. You're not going to see them give away all the rights, because I'm sure Nickelodeon has plans. I mean, this is a series that they not only made a $100 million film for, even though it bombed, they then continued and put out a new series for. They're still showing the original series on Nickelodeon. And I should probably address the big 800-pound gorilla in the room before I sign off here. Another reason I really want this to be done is Nickelodeon's probably very cautious about what it let out to bag at the very end of that series. The Korra thing. I mean, Nickelodeon let them go through with what they did. Make it an official, heavily imply, to the point where to most people it was obvious that those two were, at the end of the series, weren't in a relationship. But when they were writing it, obviously they were very unsure just how far Nickelodeon will let them go. So it wasn't the best developed of relationships. I personally, justify it as you're seeing them kind of really on their very first kind of romantic thing after having a long friendship. They're at that very beginning. So that's why, in my headcanon, they're not more, I don't know, how would you call it, touchy-feely? Outside of Nickelodeon said no kisses. They probably did kiss when they got on the other side of that. But you kind of see my point. Nickelodeon kind of set their limit. Now, I said in my previous video, we're going to wait till award season. And I think this will go for this as well. If they get hit with a lot, Nickelodeon might go, I wonder if we can push the envelope further. And there's a reason for that. And there's also a reason for why they did as much. Like, I don't think Disney would have gone as far, but researching Viacom when I decided to look at this, Viacom's very pro LGBT. Is it LGBT? Yeah, LGBT network. I'm not sure if it's some of the top executives are that way, or they're just very, very, they're straight, but they're very pro LGBT, very pro gay marriage, all that stuff. To the point where one of those channels I listed before, Logo, is a channel that specializes in LGBT entertainment. I don't get how that's very necessarily different. There's just I don't watch it. There's just a lot of queer eye for the straight guy on there. Most gay people I've met like the same shows I do. It's like, I love Game of Thrones and House. So do I. They don't seem like they have a very particular network ideal. Actually, if they want to go full out, I guess they could move it to that channel. I don't think I even get it on my network though, but I digress there. Probably one of the reasons Nickelodeon, obviously the top execs at Nick know what their bosses at Viacom are like. They might be looking to score some, and Viacom itself might be enjoying this on a political aspect. They're really not getting flack for it. It hasn't turned into there hasn't been how should we put it, counter controversy coming from the right. I'm sure maybe there's been some chat on some of the websites, but none of the major right-wing networks has really brought it up and go, oh my god, this is a show for children and they're showing lesbians on there. You haven't seen that. One, it's probably indicative of what Nick's main audience is, that this probably flew through their radars. Obviously, most people with kids much younger. Statistics show that younger, and I'm not saying younger as in the 6-year-olds. I'm saying their parents. Their parents are odds are in their 30s, early 30s, a lot in their 20s. The demographic that is one of the more pro LGBT, pro gay marriage stuff, it's not gonna. They don't. Doesn't phase them as much. They're going, oh, they're going there. Okay. They're not the ones to raise their fists in anger on that as much. So, who knows? Nick might, as I said before, Nick might decide to bring it back because they want to push their envelope a little bit. Okay, it worked. And this is what I said with the Emmys and award season. We got a ton of awards from that. And there is a business incentive to getting those rewards, because as you get those rewards, it means talent. The people that can kind of pick and choose where they want to go, and the people that you kind of want to bring into your network as actors, as directors and show writers, and especially for Nickelodeon with animation, if you're getting a ton of awards as being a very push the envelope place to be, you can write the stories you want to write. You can get those really good writers, those really good animators. The kind of guys that they're going to get the money. They don't have to worry about that part. They can go somewhere else and get good money. But they go, man, Nickelodeon has let people push envelope. They have openly gay couples over there and such. That sounds like a network. I'd rather go work for them because I think Disney's going to be more restrictive. I can do the shows I want to do, or more likely I can do the shows I want to do over there. So, Nick might want to do that just so it has the moolah. It'll have the talent pool, and if you're having really good shows, there's probably a good correlation between having quality programming and bringing in more money and viewers. So Nickelodeon might decide, okay, we pushed it there. The easiest way for us to push the envelope further is to bring back the series. I would even take them doing short-term miniseries. Like, give me a two-part miniseries, like a 3-hour-long miniseries. It's just a single story that tells, somebody else comes along and you've got to solve a problem with the Korra and the gang. Bring back the series. I might even take a movie. And, but have them as a more open couple. Perhaps show some flashbacks, because one thing people have been criticizing the build-up for that is I personally, I think there was enough in there to kind of get how that relationship developed. Apparently some people would need to be knocked on the noggin a little harder. You can bring them back and you can show some flashbacks of them developing their relationship a bit more. And I think that'll soothe the audience. And Nick would probably want to do that if they're going to bring back, because it's probably not going to be as jumping on the radar if you announce a brand new show and you have to announce that, oh, by the way, it's going to have a gay couple in it. You might get some more controversy on that. Versus, we're bringing back the Legend of Korra, we're going to show and continue the characters' relationships. Fans of the series know, oh, the relationships, like the bisexual lesbians you had on there at the very end. See, they kind of get the credit, but they avoid a bit of the controversy. So Nick might be wanting to do that. That might be something like they have planned out, okay, after 2-3 years, we'll bring it back. Because they've done that a lot with animation. Futurama, Family Guy. Unlike live-action TV shows, that once you release that cast, it's impossible to get that same group really together again. I mean, occasionally you can, and they're bringing back apparently Twin Peaks, but you've got to have some time pass for that. Some real foreplanning. It's easier with animation because you've got animators and such, or studios, and most animators are not as real picky on the art style, especially if they're a little lower. If they're not the guys doing the show itself, you've got to earn your stripes by normally drawing other people's designs first. So most animators are actually very capable of doing various art styles and will do it as they build up, so you don't have to worry about that. But the cast for animation is easy to bring back together. because you don't have to get everyone at the same time. I don't know if you're listening. I don't know what your perception is on how recording sessions are done. I have a friend who's a voice actor, and he was in Arma 3. I think he was one of like a Helpless Villager or something. But yeah, he didn't even go to a studio to give his lines in for that. He has his own little home studio where he gets the lines sent to him via email. He mostly does book readings, which he does the same thing. Like he'll send his kids will go to grandma's house, and he'll spend the day reading through the book, recording in he's got a studio room. Doesn't leave his house. He just gets his lines, he records them, and sends them back into the studio. With a lot of these guys who are professional voice actors, that's what they'll do. And if you look at how many lines they have in a series, it's a weekend job for some of these guys, even though they're big characters. Or if they're going into the studio, you don't need all these these guys aren't all in the studios together at the same time recording. They're recorded one at a time. Occasionally you'll have a couple of them in there at the same time. Maybe you'll have a few in. If you have a particularly emotional scene, you might want to have a couple of the actors in there so that they will do their own thing, or they'll play off each other better. But you don't have to worry about scheduling. You don't have to worry about everyone being available at the same time. You can do the recordings over the course of a couple months, and getting people as they're available for, it's not acting. You don't have to get dressed up in, you don't have to go for wardrobing, get into your wardrobe costume. They can show up in sweatpants. You don't have to get makeup. They do apparently put lipstick on, because apparently it helps with the recording, but you go there, you just read your lines. You don't have to worry about acting, doing the silent moments. That stuff's not handled. They don't have to really worry about the action scenes outside of doing grunts like stuff like that. And even for an entire series as long as these, it's not hours and hours of voice recording for each character. Maybe Korra's actress is in there she might be in there for a week. Again, that's a week. She doesn't have to be in there at the same time J.K. Simmons is, though. That's why you're able to see these shows return in the animation, because you can work around that. You can get people's schedules. If somebody has a 3-day window, you can do their recordings in that 3-day windows. Or even they have a 3-day window here, and then 2 weeks later they have another 3-day window. You can do that. You can't do that with a show. You can't do that with Game of Thrones, where what's her face? Khaleesi. I forgot her actress's name. She can't go, well, I can do a couple scenes right now, and then you can just pause all production, all the cameras and sets, and the rest of the cast will sit there. I'll go and I'll have to record do my Terminator Genesis film, and then I'll come back for a couple days so we can finish the scene. Sometimes actually that does happen, but really you don't see that. When you're recording for a show, live action, it's everyone on deck for that time period. You've got to be there. That's why you have a harder time bringing back casts for that. And sometimes when a long time has passed, you can kind of, 2 years in advance you start rebooking the cast. But for voice acting, those guys will come back really easy. It's one of the reasons why you see so many actors, like big name actors, in so many Disney films as voice actors, because it's a 2-hour movie. They're in half the scenes, so they're in an hour of the movie. But they've really only got about 15 minutes full of dialogue, maybe, because there's a lot of silent moments. So even if you go there, they're in half the scene, so they have about an hour's worth of dialogue. There you go. That's a couple hours in the studio. Just because you go over some lines more than once, you'll give a couple different takes on lines so that there's alternatives. That's a day in the studio. You have 1 day, boom, you're done. If you're not a major character, you're not even in there for a full day's worth of recording. Alright, I think I've ranted. I probably went on this longer than I did the review for the actual Legend of Korra series. So, like I said, go on, sign up if you want to support this. Uh, who knows what this will lead to? I gave some, realistic expectations here. Perhaps, Nick might, like I said, I think the biggest thing, there's going to be no movement on plans for the future until after awards season. If they rake in the rewards, Nickelodeon might be looking to continue this. But stuff like this also signals them that fans are still hungry. And if you can signal them that you want to consume more product, they should hopefully deliver. They normally will. They try to. Look, we're still getting new Dragon Ball Z OVAs done. Series. Not series, but one-shot movies. We're still getting those. There's a new one coming out where they're gonna bring back Frieza again. Cool. I would take even that, a series of just like independent, like we'll just shoot out movies as long as you want them. If we see real signs of series fatigue, there's nothing much else to tell. I'll signal the white flag. I'll go, okay, that was a nice little last one. You can give her a rest now. You can move on to the next person in the Avatar cycle once I see that fatigue. But I haven't seen that in this series, which is why I wanted to continue, and I hope it does. So, signing off for now, folks. I don't know if I'll be back for more videos. I know after a really long hiatus, came back. Gotta see how things are with work, and who knows, I might return in some capacity. If I could. Unfortunately, I tend to stop on my way back on Fridays because I have a commute, but there's a theater along the way, and a lot of times after work on Friday, I'm like, I just want to sit and relax for 2 hours. So I will go to the theater, but it's by myself. If I can change that around and get some people to see stuff with me, I might try to do kind of a Brad Jones-esque backseat critic type thing, where we'll go see a movie. I'll have a video camera in the car and we'll record our thoughts. It's a possibility, but we'll see. Folks, signing off for now. Maybe I'll be back, maybe I won't. Who knows?